All right, guys, let's get into how we are going to create our Surrealist project in Pixlr. We're back in Pixlr E. We're going to click on Create New, and the size I'd like you to use is the full HD size. We're going to click on Create, and now we just need to add some pictures to this. Now we're just going to be using pictures that we find on Google image searches. I've found a couple already. We already know how to add them in here by hitting the plus button and click on Image, and then finding the image that we downloaded from the internet, and then we can make them bigger, adjust them, move them around, and start removing things and adding things and putting things together. But what I want to talk to you today about is how do we incorporate our pictures into the background and make them go together? Because remember, surrealism is based in realism, and if they don't look like they go together, if they don't look realistic, then the strangeness and surprisingness and dreamlikeness of it is going to be kind of broken. So we want to make sure we get our pictures added in here as best we can so that things go together. So what I'm planning on doing here is adding another hiker. We got a little one here in this background picture I found, and I've got another one here, but I want to make this one humongous and walking through the mountains in the background. All right. So what I've done is, just like in a cooking show, we got a little swap out. Here you can see I erased the background around this bigger hiker, just like in the cutout tool assignment that we did. And I actually flipped her. You can do that in the edit and transform options. You can rotate, you can flip vertical and horizontal. You can also rotate using this little handle up here. All right. But if I want to incorporate this into my background, now I have to figure out where I want to put her, and I have to solve this problem of her not having feet. I can't just have them cut off like that. I need to make them look like they are maybe behind one of these mountains. And I could, you can see she kind of lines up here, and I could go in here with my cutout tool again, grab my lasso, make sure I remove, add a little feather, and try and match this curve of this mountain here to make it look like she's hiking behind it. But if I change my mind later and I want to put her somewhere else, then I have to do that whole process all over again. Zoom in, try and match this line right here. And there's an easier way to do this that makes it look a lot better, and that is to make a sandwich. So in this example here, you can see I've got my hiker, and no matter where I move her, let's get the right layer here, you can see that she is behind that mountain range right there. And the way that I did that is by adding a copy of my background. So if we look at my layers here, here's my background layer right here. But at the top of my layers, I have just the bottom part of it. Okay? So that when they lay over the top, you can't really tell the difference, but I can put my hiker or whatever else I want in there in between those layers to make a sandwich. So I've got this layer on top, then my hiker, then the background layer with everything else. And this allows me to add different things in there, move things around, make things the way I want. I could add another hiker in here if I wanted to. I have to cut out the background, make it nice, but I wouldn't have to do anything with her feet or anything like that to make that one fit in there. And that's what we're looking for. We want it to look nice. We want it to fit in. One last thing I can do with this hiker is use my adjustment tools, hue saturation, to change her color a little bit to make sure that these reflections of light are kind of matching the color palette in the background. Maybe she's a little too bright and I want to darken it up by lowering the saturation or going into the brightness contrast and maybe darkening her a little bit so she looks a little more silhouetted, kind of like this guy in the front. Okay, so we want to focus on making our pictures go together in our final piece. I'm going to show you one last example of a finished work of art that I put together here. All right, and exactly how I did it with my different layers. Okay, so one of the requirements for this project is that you have 5 different pictures put together. Here I've got my background picture. I've got a picture of these whales. I got a picture of these little tiny people in the top and on top of this little whale here. My horse riding guy and my diver girl in the background. Okay, that's 5 different pictures we're putting together. And the way I'm making these go together is the same way that I did before with the sandwich. Okay, if I get rid of some of these layers, you can see there's my people. They're gone. You can see this layer here. Actually, let me turn all these off and we can go through them one by one. All right, this layer here is just the front clouds for my background. This layer here is everything except that back sky of the background. And then this bottom layer is my entire background. And when I turn all those on, it doesn't look like much. But because I have them, I can overlap and move things behind them. So if I put the group, if I put the whales in there, I can move them around wherever I like. Oh, let me make sure I've got the right layer selected. There we go. I can move them around wherever I like, and they're still going to be behind those clouds because I've got that layer right there. Okay. I also had to make sure that all of my pictures kind of went together. So my rodeo guy, let me get things back where they go. Come on, whales. The rodeo guy was a little too bright, and I had to go into him and turn his saturation down in the adjustments and hue saturation model. All right. So make sure that you are making your pictures go together. Use the sandwich technique and the adjustments to do that. And make sure you read those requirements for the assignment that are going to show up right there in the information. All right. Good luck. Can't wait to see what you make.